Okay, welcome to 6.1. We're going to talk for a few minutes about statistics. Statistics is a very interesting field of study. It's a very applicable field of mathematics. So statistics is in essence, it's how we study how to gather, organize, analyze, and interpret data. We use statistics to make decisions about the world around us. You'll find it everywhere. You'll find it on your local news cycle. You'll find it in science, in business, um, in everything to improve how we make decisions about particular fields of study. Data itself are just the values that we gather, the values that are gathered when we measure some characteristic. Characteristic. Guys, this could be anything from your grades, the values that I gather whenever I check your grades. Um, that's data. That's information that I pull. It could be height, weight, gender, could be just about anything. Now, we are only going to deal with numerical data, and we're going to talk about the mean, median, mode, and range. And all of those are going to be quantitative. Quantitative means that we are dealing with numbers as opposed to more qualitative measures such as gender and race, ethnicity, things like that. So let's begin talking about mean. Now, the mean is the sum of all data divided by the number of data items that are collected. This is called the average. Guys, this is how I determine your score at the end of the semester. I take all of your grades, I combine them all together, I divide by the total number of grades, and it determines your grade for the course. So we need to do a few things first. The first thing we need to do is we need to combine all of the data points. Okay. Now, guys, this doesn't mean that I'm going to be adding everything. If I've got negative numbers, I may have to subtract the negatives from the positives, but I'm going to combine all those, and that's going to give me one number. Then, once I have combined those data points, I'm going to count the total number of data points. The total number of data points. And then finally, step 3 is I'm going to divide the number found from step 1 by the number found in step 2. And it's perfectly acceptable to get a decimal here. It really is. So if I were to have something like 2, 3, 4, and 5, I could combine all of those together. So 5 and 4 is 9, 10, 11, plus 3 is 14. My total number of data points here are 4. So my average is going to be 14 divided by 4, which is effectively 7 divided by 2, which is 3.5. Okay? So that is effectively finding the average of those 4 in particular data points. Now I'll work a few more examples here in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and work through median. Now your median is going to be the center item or the center data in a list. Now, your median is less affected by outliers. It gets a really kind of in-depth into statistics, so we're not going to talk about it quite a bit. But just know that your median is the center data in the list, and it's a very useful measure. So what we're going to do to find our median is you're going to organize the data from least to smallest. or least to greatest, least to greatest. Okay, now, then once you've organized, you're going to select the middle data point. It's actually called the datum. Anytime there's a single data point, it's called a datum. You're going to select the middle data point. The problem is you're not always going to have a middle data point that you can select from. So I've got this little third bullet here, and that is to say if there are an even number of data points, then you're going to average the middle two data points. And that's going to happen middle two data points. And that's going to happen anytime I've got an even number. So let me kind of give you an example of what that looks like. So if I have, let's say, 5 numbers, let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My middle point here is pretty easy to find. That middle point is 3, and that's going to be my median. Because it's odd. Okay, since it's odd, I've got 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and then the 3 is in the middle. But what if I have 4? What if I have any even number? What if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Well, now if I select the 2 above and the 2 below, I'm left with 2 in the center. And if I covered up the 3 and the 4, well, what is that number that I'm missing? Well, I find that number by taking the 2 middle values and averaging those together. So, remember, we know how to find the average. We just add them together, combine them. So 3 plus 4 gives me 7. There are 2 total, so I get to divide by the total, which is 2. And again, I get that 3.5. So I find that the median of the numbers 1 through 6 is actually 3.5, just like what I found earlier, the average of 2, 3, 4, and 5 is also 3.5. You have to do this anytime that there are an even number of data points. Well, let's talk about mode for just a minute. Mode is simply repeated data points. That's really all it is. Mode is not too bad to find repeated data points. Mode isn't too bad to find. There's very little arithmetic that's involved in finding the mode. All we have to do here to find the mode is to organize the data from least to smallest, or least to greatest. And we do this, guys, because it just makes it a little less confusing as you try to work through data points. I mean, you could have many data points that you're having to work through, and it's easy to kind of get lost. So you're going to organize the data from least to greatest, and then you're just going to look for repeated values. So, for example, if I have a data set containing 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 8, 9, this isn't too bad. I can pretty easily see that I've, of course, repeated, what number have I repeated? I've repeated 2. Okay, so I can tell that my mode there is 2. Okay. Range. Range is going to measure the distance that the data values span. Okay. All we have to do for the range is, again, we need to organize from least to greatest. least to greatest. And then once I've organized from least to greatest, I'm going to subtract the smaller from the larger. Okay, subtract the smaller from the larger. That's going to tell me that my range between my data points. So let's take a couple minutes and let's do some examples.